thank you for having me here today. And yes, please interrupt me with questions. I'm really good on the fly. So my name is Audrey Kerchner. I am the co-founder and chief marketing strategist at Inkyma. And we are a marketing agency that also does AI automation for marketing and business workflows. And prior to having my own company for the last 13 years, I worked in corporate America. So I used to kind of grow up in the world of marketing, working at a Fortune 500 company where we would market products like Claritin, Nasonex, Dr. Scholl's, Coppertone. Those are probably some of the names that you're familiar with, and then hopefully some of the other stuff I worked on you are not familiar with. Left there after 11 years, and then I went to go and work for an agency in New York City. We were an international agency, so I got to work on co-created teams with brands like Heineken and Jaguar and other healthcare related type of stuff. So I've been doing all of this kind of stuff for a very, very long time. And even before AI became popular, I was already doing it for my clients. Because believe it or not, for the last 5 or 6 years, systems have been incorporating artificial intelligence into their systems. And we've been utilizing it without realizing it. And I think just this last year, since November, it kind of exploded onto the scene with ChatGPT and all these other things. And now we're like, okay, well, how do we incorporate it? So that's what I'm going to talk to you about. But I just wanted you to realize it wasn't something that, I woke up in January and said, hey, let me use this stuff. It's been stuff that I've been incorporating for many, many years. Let's see if I can figure out the right direction. I did. Okay. So this is a very large topic. We could spend days and days on this kind of stuff. So I'm going to be giving you a 50,000 foot view because we're all at different places in our businesses, right? One business needs one thing, another business needs something else, and we're not all in the same place. So I'm going to talk about what artificial intelligence is as of today. Give you some inspiration and ideas of the different types of places you can use it in your business. Because I think if we kind of know where it could be used, then all of a sudden the ideas kind of spark. I'm going to talk to you about creating prompts. I'm actually going to tell you how to create a prompt if you want to use a tool like ChatGPT. And then we're going to go through an exercise of how I'm going to help you figure out where you can start implementing this in your business, or if you've already started, where you can continue. And then I'm going to talk to you about what do you do next if you start implementing it, because like with most software and systems, they need to be maintained and they need to be watched, not because they're going to take over, but because they can break and they can start costing you a lot of money if you don't keep up with things. All right, and I'm going the wrong way. No, I'm going the right way. Okay. So what is artificial intelligence? So according to this, it's the ability for a system to do tasks that are usually done by humans because they require human intelligence and discernment. Intelligence and discernment, which is different from a Google search, right? We put it in, it gives us a list, we go. But the way I like to think about this is you can open up something like ChatGPT or Claude. By the way, I gave you a handout, so when I start using these system names, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be on there. Okay, so that way you can go and look and explore, write notes on it for yourself, sticky pads there for that. So the way I like to think of these chatbots is think of it as a person that you can have a conversation with. How would you have a conversation? You start out by giving them a little context, asking a question, asking for clarification, maybe going off in a different direction. So really it's a system that you can actually have a conversation with and get something out of. And it's deeper than that. They can do more things. They can automate tasks and do other things, but that's essentially what AI is. It's a tool. Right? It's not going to take over a business. It's not going to take a person's job completely, because just like when we went from typewriters to computers, there was someone that still needed to hit the keyboards. And so that's what you have to think of this is it's going to be an assistant, something that's going to support your business just like all the other tools that you use. Okay, so now for some of the fun stuff. I got that out of the way. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different sections of business and where you can implement automation and AI as part of that. Mostly AI, sometimes it's automation in there. So we're going to start with marketing. We're going to talk about blog articles, social media content, digital ads, image generation, and search engine optimization, right? Because this is kind of where all the hubbub started. So first, blog articles, right? It takes me and my team about 4 hours to write and publish a blog article. It's just facts. But now with AI tools such as ChatGPT, we've got a 2,000-word article down to about an hour. We've saved 3 hours worth of work. Same people are doing it, right, because they have a certain level of expertise, but we're doing this with starting out with a multi-step prompt concept. And what a prompt is it's the information you're putting into the chat to get the information you want back. So we call that prompt or prompt engineering. So instead of saying, write me an article about this, which is not helpful, not useful, you're not going to get anything great back out of that, we start with a multi-step process, right? Because it learns as it goes. Just like when we have a conversation, I ask you a question, you give me an answer, I have a follow-up. Keep that concept in mind as we go. So you start with asking for a title and an article summary. I want something about this, title, write it out for me. Here's what I want the article to kind of be about that. And then you get it back and you're like, oh, I like that. And then you ask for an outline. Like back when we were in school, we outlined our articles and papers. You ask for an article outline. And then so once you get the outline back, let's say you like it, you might add something to it. Then you say, okay, now let's write a full article using the title and the summary that you wrote along with the outline. And then all of a sudden you start seeing this structure come into place. And then you tweak those sections. Add a little bit here, take something out there, reword this a little bit, right? So there's still that involvement going back and forth. And then you have an article. Then what we like to do is we always add a frequently asked question to every article because that's good SEO juju. And then reference links. This is probably one of my favorite parts. Give me 5 external reference links that I can use within this article. And then tell me what part of my article I can link them out to. Because when you read an article, there'll be a link to a certain sentence that helps go there. Now with that, the one caveat I will tell you is make sure you check all of those links. You know, the most up-to-date information for something like ChatGPT, I think, was 2021 or 2022, right? And then even Claude, with it being 2023, links break and change all the time. So please check all of your links before you insert them. And so here on the right is an example of an article that we wrote for our blog using this process.
Are you saying that the ChatGPT, the information that could be pulled out of there is not always up to date? So if you ask about a current event,
so models are trained on information, and the last time they updated the information on ChatGPT was 2021. So meaning if you say, oh, who won the Oscars this year, ChatGPT is not going to know. Not unless it is, it's got an outlet to the internet. Claude is, like, it was early this year, its learning model is up to 2023, meaning it might know as long as it was passed when the Oscars were done.
Okay.
But it's still all relevant information, because think about the information in your business and how long that industry has been established.
Audrey, are you going to share your slides, like a photocopy or something of your slides?
I certainly can.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll work with the ladies and make sure that they get you a PDF copy of the slides out for sure.
Perfect, thank you.
Of course. Okay, so now we're going to move on to what I'm calling short form content. We call it that so we don't have to keep saying social media, digital ads, image creation, and all this other stuff. Short form content is your social media content. Long form are your blog articles. And so you can use a system like ChatGPT to create all of these things. So let's start with social media content. You can ask for it to give you a topic, give it a topic, and ask for 20 posts for a specific platform. It knows the difference between Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all those things, because it was trained on all that data. And then include relevant hashtags, because 99% of the social media platforms out there search and keyword off of hashtags. So it's gonna like create all of that for you. You can go through, clean it up, and then get it ready to go out. Digital ads are very cool because in the world of digital ads, we like to A/B test images and content to see what combination is going to work best. Because if you're doing digital advertising, you're spending a lot of money and you want to get as much out of that spend as possible. So with Google Display Ads, it does automatic A/B testing for you. So it asks you to insert 5 headings, 1 long headline, and 5 descriptions. I don't know about you, but it takes me a long time to come up with 5 different variations of trying to ask the same thing. But you can actually go in and say, I'm running Google Display Ads, I want 5 headlines, 1 long description, and 5 descriptions, and you can put the character count in, because there's character length limitations. I think headlines are 30 characters and descriptions are 90. And so it can keep it right in the right size so that it's doing that heavy lifting for you and giving you the variations you want. You just have to feed it what your ads are going to be targeting and what they're about, your industry, what you're doing, and it will give that all back to you. And then in the same vein, you can use a tool like Midjourney that's on there. Midjourney is what's called a text-to-image language model, meaning you put in a description of what you want the image to look like, and it gives you back that image. Might need to tweak it a little bit. Midjourney is the best one out there. If anybody's played with it in Canva and been severely underwhelmed, yes, Canva's a little bit behind. But there are tools out there like that and Dolly, so play with one that you like. What's really cool is writing these prompts in Midjourney is a little more, it's different than doing it in ChatGPT. But if you use ChatGPT Plus that has plugins, there's actually a plugin called photorealistic prompting, and you tell it what you want and it actually writes you the Midjourney prompt for you, so you don't have to figure out how to prompt in both ChatGPT and Midjourney if you don't want to, right? So there's ways, ChatGPT with these plugins is making it different ways to make even using some of these tools easier, which I think is pretty cool. And so let's say you want 5 different images to support your digital ad. It creates all of them, the picky ones you want, you upload it all, and you get ready to run your ads, as opposed to having to go find stock or buy stock photography. And then this last one might be out there for some of you, but again, I don't know where everybody in the room is, but you can actually do voiceovers if you're going to do videos. So if you want to do a video and you don't want to be on screen, right? And maybe you don't want to use your voice. You use ChatGPT to write you a video script, right? Write me a video script for a 5-minute video about this topic, and it will segment that out for you. You copy and paste it into a tool called 11 Labs. It will take and read your transcript and then voice over it, just like a voiceover actor would. And then you can download that MP3 file, upload it to Canva. I use Canva because most people, that's where they start. Most small business owners are not like, Photoshop gurus or any of those tools. But if you use a different tool, as long as it allows you to upload your audio, you're good to go. You upload the audio, add your images and video overlay, and then your video is good to go. And what this does is, instead of you having to be on screen or having to voice over or having to write those scripts yourself, it really helps streamline that process if you're going to be creating a lot of YouTube shorts as part of your social media campaign. So, and that's just high level what you can do with short form content. Okay, let's talk about search engine optimization. I think one of the hardest things with search engine optimization is to figure out keywords and try to find what you want your topics to be, right? Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Right. The article's not the hard part. It's like, what do I write about? And how can I find 10 different ways to write about the same thing? Well, that's where ChatGPT can help you with that. So what this image on the right is just a list of blog article titles and their primary keywords that it produced on my behalf for one of my topics. And so what you want to give it is, first give it some context of who's writing the article and what are you trying to achieve. Let me know if I'm blocking the screen over here for you guys. I keep bumping into my local thing. So that's where you're going to start with that. And then next, you're going to ask it to generate a list of questions, 5 or 6 questions about a topic, right, in your business. something that you think you want to write about. And it's going to give you those questions, and you're going to decide, oh, I like question number 4. That's pretty cool, right? I've never thought of asking it that way to a client, because sometimes we get a little too close to what we do. And then from there, you can say, okay, now create a list of article titles and keyword phrases, meaning the keyword phrase is your SEO phrase, based off of that title, given based on that question that I just picked. And that's where this came up. And this page actually goes longer. I went all ham on this one. I asked for like 25 to 30 different topic titles, because I wanted to see what it was going to come up with and see what resonated with me. But then it gave me all these different unique keyword phrases, which then I can pull and even say, okay, here's a keyword phrase. Now give me 5 titles to associate to this one keyword phrase, right? And then you can start mixing and matching. And then so after I picked out which one I wanted, right? Contractor website optimization and SEO impact, right? I said, okay, give me my final title, something that's going to be a little more eye-catching, right? Because search is 2 parts. 1, to show up high in search. 2, to get people to click. The high-end search is your keyword phrase and how you do all that good stuff on the page. The clicking part is your title and what is called meta description. Meta description is that little description that's just underneath of it that you read and you're like, oh yeah, I want to learn about that. Click, right? That's a meta description. You can ask it to write both of those. And there is a methodology to writing meta descriptions that it is trained on, because it's trained on all this search engine optimization learning, right? So if you say, use power words and make sure my keyword phrase is in there, it's going to know what the power words are. In search, there's power words that they've done studies on, like what makes us click. Numbers, the word free, and then there's a whole list of words, right? Yeah, we see the word free, we go, what? And then there's a bunch of other words. And so it knows how to try to combine those with your title to give you the best chance of the person to click through. It's going to figure all that out for you. So you don't even have to know what it is, right? Okay. Whew, that was marketing. Lots of stuff, right? Any thoughts or questions before I move on to customer service? Go ahead.
All these things that you gave us, is there a cost for these?
Yes, some are free and some are cost. Just like with all your other business systems, you're going to have to pay for them. But here's the way I want you to think about them. Think about having to pay someone to do all the things I just talked about versus having a system do it. It's pennies on the dollar, right? So ChatGPT Plus is $20 a month. Where are you going to hire someone for $20 a month to write all of your blog articles? So that's the way I want you to, there's an investment in people and then there's an investment in systems. And you got to balance that. And then the other thing is that for certain, when you implement systems like these, you can have a virtual assistant or an assistant run these versus someone with a higher knowledge level. And we pay more for people that are higher knowledge level, right? Versus someone else. So it's that balance too. So it's not that you don't need people. You're going to need people. Hopefully you're not going to be doing all of this. You're going to have someone, but you might not have to pay someone who is a social media expert versus someone who is an assistant in your office to write your social media posts.
So is ChatGPT Plus worth the $20 a month versus regular generic ChatGPT?
Absolutely. So first of all, Plus gives you a couple of different things. It gives you access to the entire plugin library. So when I was talking about that photorealistic plugin, I'm also going to talk about other plugins. There are like 90 plugins. It's starting to rival the Apple Store about how many of these businesses are investing time and money to create plugins for this. So that alone right there is worth it. You get access to GPT-4, which is much more advanced than 3.5. And then they just added this really cool thing today. Sorry, I'm geeking out a little bit. So every time you open a chat, you would have to give it the context. This is what I want, this is who I am. They just implemented version 1 of this feature where you can preload information about who you are and what you do so that it is actually embedded every time you open a chat.
I saw that.
That's part of Plus. And so I was playing around with it this morning, and it even has a section like what tone, what style, how would you like to be addressed? So now I've like got it going, hey Aud, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. Oh, great, it knows me. It doesn't know me. That's the information I put in there. So it's kind of giving you a way to train your GPT Plus model yourself without having to re-put information in, which is kind of cool, really cool. Any other questions? These were great, by the way. All right, so let's talk about customer service, right? We all want our customers to have a good experience now that we've marketed them and they're in the business. So we're going to talk about AI chatbots. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about in this section because it's something where you can create multiples to do different things for your business, both customer facing and employee facing. So. And on the sheet, where is it? ChatGPT Builder. It is a separate company from OpenAI. So it's not part of that suite. It's just someone else using the same name to confuse the rest of us. But, so when I talk about an AI chatbot, this is the one that I am playing with and exploring right now because it's actually one of the more easy to use, most advanced, and has the best training tools. Because when these new systems come online, whoever gives you the best training tools on how to make this thing work wins, in my opinion. So it's great for internal, external use. You can create one that's client-facing and on your website, and then one internally to help you train employees. And so if you think about chatbots today, who's ever set up a regular chatbot? Not an AI chatbot, right? Oh, good, right? Because it's hard and it's time-consuming because you have to think of everything they're going to ask, plug that in along with every single answer, right? So 30, 50, 70 questions about your business, that's a lot of work. So when you're doing an AI chatbot, you can start out with just feeding it your company information, right? Scanning the information from your website, putting in your standard operating procedures, any type of documentation you have, you can kind of riff in there. This is what we do, this is how we do it, this is our pricing, this is our time. Anything that pertains to your business. So you're kind of like training it like your own small learning language model, right? It's learning you. And then when someone actually uses it, they ask a question, the AI bot goes, search your information, and brings the relevant information back, just like we do with ChatGPT. So it's kind of like your ChatGPT for your business, which is pretty cool. And there's no coding involved. This is all workflow, filling in the boxes, connecting things. If you've ever used something like a workflow system in Canva, or there are some of us out there that know what Visio is, it's like that. You're connecting the dots and you're filling stuff in. And so if you're going to have a chatbot on your site, let's say you're a restaurant, you can put your entire menu in there, and someone can come along and say, oh, you know, I'm looking for something like this, right? I want an appetizer that's maybe gluten-free. It'll come back and go, we have 3 options, and here's the pricing for that. Would you like me to make a reservation for you? Because you can then add into the chatbot reservation campaigning, which is pretty cool. So now let's kind of flip that on the other side. How are we going to train employees? Kind of the same way. If you have workflows, if you have standard operating procedures, if you have how-to manuals, you can upload all of that information in. You can create workflows. It's like, I'm a brand new employee. Okay, this is what I want you to read first, watch this video, do these things, and then check it off. And then it can ask questions too. Well, someone can come back and go, well, you know, what is our process for doing X, Y, Z? It can bring back the information of this is our process of how we do that. And oh, by the way, when you get to this point, you contact Phil because then Phil needs to do this. So it's going to be still putting the information in, but you not trying to figure out all of the answers right from the beginning. And then it's tweakable over time. Just because I recently looked at it, that particular system, their pro version is $50 a month, but again, where are you going to find someone to answer all of those questions and do all of those things for $50 per month, right? Okay, like I said, customer service was a little short and sweet. That one thing was just, you know, days and days worth of things to do. Any thoughts about customer service? Any questions before I move on to business operations?
So, are you exporting your business data into this? I know it'd be somewhat protected, but it's not on your own cloud space, your own domain.
It's inside of their system, but their system is closed. That's why I said a ChatGPT builder is not part of OpenAI, meaning that data is not getting fed to them and then brought back.
Right.
You do have to be careful. If you have highly sensitive information, then you're better off hiring someone to code and build you your own model that sits on your own data set on your servers, right? This right now cannot sit on your servers.
Yeah.
I would love to see a model at some point that would. And there might be a tool out there, but for like 99% of the people that, you know, I interact and deal with, this type of model is good because it's none of that information is proprietary.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, wouldn't work for like, you know, SpaceX or something like that. They've got lots of proprietary stuff. Good question though, very good. All right, so let's talk about business operations. Emails, diagrams. This one's gonna be really cool. Google Sheet documents, embedding support, and then Zapier. Who's using Zapier now? Anybody? Is running it? Okay. So what Zapier is, right? Let this sink in before I get to that part. It's a tool that connects all your different systems together. Doesn't matter what company they are, they got thousands of connectors out there, so you can connect your website with your CRM. You can connect your website with something else. So it's that intermediary piece. So it's already a really great tool. And now it's got AI integration with it. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about email. Gmail? Raise hands. Microsoft? Okay, good. You're going to be the happy people today. So you got your existing email system, and you want something that's going to help you write your emails, make it easier to respond to emails. So for Gmail, which is Google Workspace, the paid version, having it natively embedded, meaning it's a Google product, is not out yet. In March, they said it's coming. I'm still waiting, right? Every day, I'm waiting, because I'm a Google Workspace shop. So it's coming. But what you can do is you can get Chrome extensions for Gmail, if you're familiar with the extension shop. There's tons of them out there. The latest one that I've tested is on the sheet. It says GMP plus Chrome extension. Give it a try. See if it's going to work for you. Sometimes my emails are so specific that I'm the only one that can write it, but then I use one of these tools to write it, and then they clean it up for me. It's nice because it's integrated, so you don't have to go out to ChatGPT, write an email, copy and paste it, bring it back in. Streamlines your workflow a little bit. Microsoft has Copilot, which is available now. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't touched Outlook since I left the agency. But does anybody have Copilot installed on their Microsoft email yet? Give it a go, see if it works. Give it a try, because it's native to the system, so you probably just have to enable it. That's probably the other thing I would share with you. Sometimes they don't turn this stuff on automatically for you. You kind of have to go looking for it. So once you're aware of it, then you can go poking around and try to find it. And then some of the CRM systems, like HubSpot, are going all ham on this stuff. They've already integrated chat type of things inside of HubSpot, but then they created a partner one, and I don't know if I put this on here. It's called ChatSpot. ChatSpot.io. So you might want to scribble that one at the bottom. And that is their lead management tool, right? So if you're looking for, it's really great for business to business, right? Who in the room does business to business? Anybody? Okay. So if you're looking for a specific type of business, right? I want this kind of business. I want them in this geographic location. They need to have 5 to 15 employees. It'll bring you that list back. And then you can start researching them further from there. HubSpot does have a free version that's really good, meaning can be free for you for a long time until you need some of their paid features. But that's a choice. And right now the chat spot is free. Diagramming. Okay, I like diagramming and I like charts. It's just visually figuring out a process and a workflow is so much easier when it's blocks that interconnect, but creating them takes a long time. And so ChatGPT Plus has a plugin with a company called Whimsical. And what this does is you can put in text form your process and it will create a diagram for you. I use it all the time. And it's like 99% right when it comes out. So here's what I do, all right? Go blow your minds here a little bit. Maybe not. So I do a lot of my work online with clients. And then I use a AI assistant to transcribe and put all my notes together. It's called fireflies.ai. Pretty sure it's on the sheet.
Yep.
Okay. Works with Google, works with Teams. Everybody knows it's all set there. So it just rides along, transcribes the whole thing. So with a client where I'm trying to figure out like what their workflow is and what something's supposed to be, they tell me. We have a conversation. What do you do? Well, I do this, then I do this, then I do this. I take that transcription, I clean it up, I throw it into ChatGPT with the Whimsical plugin, and about 5 minutes later, I have an entire workflow process that comes out. Something that would have taken me 3 hours is done in 10 minutes, and I didn't have to write anything down. So think about how you can use that, right? If you're trying to train an employee, and you're like, crap, I haven't documented this workflow yet, I haven't documented this process yet. You can actually upload your own MP3 files to the Firefly system and it will do the transcription for you. So just record the session where you're explaining it to them, pop it in here, and let it create your workflow for you. And it's not just for workflows. So customer life cycle. If you're trying to figure out what your current customer life cycle looks like, so you're trying to change it or you've just changed it, dictate it out and then get it into their life cycle format, because there's different formats for all these visual pieces, right? Road maps, mind maps, swim lanes, brainstorming, all of that you can just write out or dictate out and then have it documented on your behalf in really nice charts. So, this is one of my favorite. Okay, so I talked about a ChatGPT Google extension, and the extension, I think it's on here. It's called GPT for Work, right? What this is it brings OpenAI into your sheets and your documents. So you don't have to, so start out with going and doing all this stuff on ChatGPT and get to the point where a lot of us do is like, oh, I can copy and paste this again. Because then you can graduate to something like this where it's actually doing it for you inside of the tools. So remember that thing I talked about with writing the blog articles and having all those multiple prompts? You can graduate from doing it inside ChatGPT to doing it inside of a Google Doc, and then it's sitting in the document already ready for you. And so this is a little video I'm going to run for you about cleaning up data, right? Because who loves cleaning up data manually, right? And so the extension's already in there and you're writing the commands and the prompts inside. So let me get this going. Okay. So what it's doing is Sheets is formula based just like Excel. There's prompts and everything already in there. So basically what this is doing is it's saying, okay, I'm going to give you some examples of bad data to good data, and then I want you to follow that same example for this bad data over here and create the good data. So it is making sure we only have first letter capitalized and not everything capitalized. We're taking out emojis and all that good stuff. And it can work for email addresses too. How many times have we gotten an email list that has all this weird stuff in it, like the arrow keys and the quote marks? Again, similar type of formula that's built right in. Here's an example of what I want the good data to look like from the bad data. Take all that stuff out, and then Now I want you to do it for the rest of this list. And then in the list, it's just telling it how long the list is. So if you have any sheets or Excel skills now, this is just gonna amplify it. If you don't, it's okay, because there's help stuff that goes along with this that will help you create what that's supposed to look like. And, forward, and once you just want to stop the video. And you can ask ChatGPT for help to create Google Sheet formulas for you. It saved me so many times. Like, I'm a bit of a data geek, but sometimes there's stuff in Sheets that I can't figure out how to do, and I'm like, what would the formula be for, I want to do this, 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 and this, and it actually writes it, and you copy and you paste it in, and it actually just does the things.
You did it right into your Google Sheet extension?
Yes,
You
I've done
wrote
it
that
in
in
here,
there? Okay.
and then when it's really complicated, sometimes I personally need more visual space to work on something, right? Versus something this big. So I might pop back out to ChatGPT and do it, or I might do it right in here, because you can start with just prompting it, right? This is basically inside of each cell is your prompt.
Embedded in there is equal GPT. You were writing like equal GPT.
Yeah.
And that's how you're telling GPT you're about to do something.
Right, with this example. Or you can simply take it a step back and use a text-based prompt.
Okay.
Right? I want to clean up this list of names. You know, A through this is this, but so you can do it either way. For the way it was showing in the video is for folks that kind of know how to navigate the language of Excel and Sheets, because they're so similar. I don't know if Copilot extends to Excel, by the way, but I do know that this extension exists. And there's a YouTube channel on how to do all of this stuff with extension and how to install the extension as well, if it's something you want to do.
Just as a backup,
Yeah.
another 10,000 feet. Would you say to learn each one? Say we all looked at one, like this is the one we want to learn. Start with YouTube. Start with the YouTube doc. Like somebody else has already done it, and they'll do an explanation for most of this.
Absolutely, that's where I would start. So, and we'll talk more about this as we go, because that's why I'm showing you all this now, and then you're starting to think, okay, how do I do this? I'm going to kind of walk you through that a little bit, but yeah, any of these, look them up on YouTube first. Sometimes I pick these tools based off of how good their YouTube channel is. Like, I won't even show it to you guys, or show it to anybody, or use it myself, unless they have a decent YouTube channel. Because this is brand new. Like, this tool and the builder tool, they're 6 months old. We are not living in the world of, it's an established Microsoft product that's been around for 15 years and we're on version 90, right? All this stuff is less than a year old.
And this stuff is probably expanding at breakneck speed, isn't it?
Yes. Well, and like I said, literally I get AI newsletters 3 times a week. And this morning's newsletter, I was reading over it, having my coffee, and then I saw the settings for GPT Plus. They literally just announced it within the last 2 days. So when I created all of this, I didn't even know that existed. I was like, oh, I'm just sharing it today.
It's already super old information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and then you've got that whole rival thing out there between like ChatGPT and Claude 2, and it's like, which one is better? And we heard the whole Bard thing that came and went, right? I mean, it came and it literally went. And now Microsoft is had their issues with OpenAI, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to use OpenAI for this, and now we're going to partner with Claude 2. You've got like these guys trying to scoop everything up in the market. And then you've got Elon Musk, who's like, no, don't use any of their tools. Wait for my tool. And then my personal opinion is that the Meta Lamb 2 that's just come out, I'm not going anywhere near that.
Is it that bad?
Not that it's bad, but it's a Meta product. And Meta has already proven that we can't trust them with our data. So that's why I pointed to you, when we're thinking about data security, when you're looking at these tools, just don't think of, oh, which one's the best, which one's good. Which one's gonna keep my data as safe as possible and not sell it to China? Because Facebook already sold all of our stuff.
Do you think there's a reason to trust OpenAI? They're brand new.
They're all brand new.
Is there a reason to trust them? Have they been vetted to know that they can be better than
So that's kind of what Congress is trying to figure out, but they are committed to data security and data privacy. But again, time's going to tell who's going to do really what. They haven't sold anything to anybody
that we know?
that we know of, but the same thing for Claude. Like they're, unlike, again, Meta, they threw this thing out there and they went, why, this is a funny story. And I have time for it. So when they first introduced Lamb, I think it was Lamb, or it was one of their AI tools, they're like, it's gonna be open. We're not putting any gatekeeping on this whatsoever. Whole industry went, that's a really bad idea. It's not gonna be used, ethically. Sure enough, 3 days later, story comes out that says, yeah, and by the way, everybody's using Meta's product to make sex bots because they can't do it with any of the other products because the products were gatekeeped, right? They're honing in on what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. So I look at that as the first litmus test to what are they going to do with my data. Now, I believe Claude will not use your data to continue to train the model where OpenAI does. So if you're going to use a tool and you don't want it using the information, but me, it's like I'm writing a marketing article about something that's been out there for the last 30 years. I'm not too concerned about giving it personal data. If you're really concerned about your data, then what you've got to do is take these systems offline, like I said before, and put them on your own servers. But that's a whole nother ball of wax.
So because of it's a little bit older data, we would never be able to run something about our own industry and get up-to-date information to say, like, what is the newest market here? We would not be able to do that with this system.
What do you do?
I'm in real estate.
Okay. There are plugins as part of GPT Plus that are for real estate agents that actually specifically have up-to-date market data, and that's where the beauty of the plugins come in.
It sounds like plugins are everything for this. Like that's
right
how you stay
now,
up to date. Is all
and actually, OpenAI is the only one that has that platform. Like all these others are still closed. They've opened their back end and they've vetted these. To the best of our knowledge, they've vetted these plugin builders, kind of like Apple does with the apps. Think about it like that, so that we can look at that. But there's listings data plugins, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, even Claude 2 wouldn't have your information from last week. And then ChatGPT shut down its Bing access because there were issues. That will at some point get reopened again where it has access to the internet and real-time data, but they found some issues. It got released too soon. Like OpenAI acknowledged that it got released too soon. It needed to be tested more. But Microsoft went, no, we're going to do it now. And it just didn't work. Okay, Zapier and OpenAI. So what this does is it takes the power of AI and combines it with the power of Zapier automations. So I'm not going to go too deep into this one. This is a little bit more advanced. This is not where I would recommend anybody start. But if you have to automate things in your company, right? Sales processes, business processes, getting data from point A to point B, Zapier's a great tool for that. There's another tool out there called Make. It's a good tool. The problem is it doesn't have the same number of connections, meaning systems it connects with, right? So Zapier, they do, so let's talk about CRMs. They do HubSpot, they do Job Nimbus, they do all these different ones out there, Salesforce, that kind of thing. Make doesn't have access to all those integrations. So that's why Zapier's kind of the king at the moment. If Make gets more, then it might be good. But with Zapier, you have two ways to interact with OpenAI. So the first one is inside of Zapier. Because it is a integration point, it will give you recommendations of things. My favorite one on here, and probably the most relatable, can't read them, so I'm going to read them to you, is create email copy with ChatGPT from new Gmails and save as drafts in Gmail, right? That's helpful. If you're in ChatGPT and you're like, oh, I need this email, it can at least port the data over for you. And then this will also work with Gmail, just this example happens to be for Outlook, is create ChatGPT conversations from new Microsoft Outlook emails. So think about this. Who's gotten a super long email and you're like, oh, I don't want to read that. I really don't want to read that, right? you can have this integration set up where it's like, okay, I want to chat with this email. Tell me what it's about. What's the most important thing? What does this person want from me? What do I have to do here? And it's going to tell you because it's going to read the email on your behalf. So I personally find that pretty useful, especially when I get like those official emails from different stuff. And then the other cool one over here is, and again, this is Dropbox, but it can just be used with Google Drive as well. So, because you can interchange those out, there's integrations for all of them. So it's convert new Dropbox files to PDFs with pdf.co, a plugin, and summarize them with ChatGPT. So if someone takes a picture of a handwritten document and sends it to you, you can get it converted to a PDF and have a slim chance of it actually being readable, like what is this data about, what are they saying to me, or if someone sends you, a picture of a document and convert it to PDF, it makes it more usable to digest for both you and for the chat lab. The other one that I saw that's not Zapier related, there's a plugin for it, is that it can take a document that you scan, because I want to use this for when my clients give me handwritten email addresses. I love that. They're like, here's all my email addresses. I'm like, oh, that's great. Now I can scan it, I can upload it, I can have ChatGPT with this plugin convert it to text, which then I can put it into a CSV file. Right, save me hours of having to, hand type things in. So that's one way to use it. But if you're not familiar with Zapier at all, this is the side I would start with. So Zapier has a plugin for ChatGPT Plus, meaning you can come down to the prompt for ChatGPT with the Zapier plugin installed. So this is kind of like what the plugin looks like. And when you click that down arrow, it takes you, or over here, it takes you to the entire library. You can only have 3 installed at a time, meaning you can use up to 3 different plugins together combined at one time. That's the way to think about that. And so the one for Zapier, you can say, okay, I want to create an email to this person, and I want to say this, and I want you to send it through my Gmail account. So Zapier will connect, it will actually help Zapier create the entire workflow inside of Zapier to connect ChatGPT to your email and then to your draft inbox. So it's going to create what's called a zap for you, if that makes sense. So instead of you having to figure out how to do it inside Zapier, it's going to do it on your behalf through ChatGPT. Similar to what I was talking about, to being able to write Sheets formulas without being a Sheets formula guru, this is going to help you create zaps. I want to take anybody that signs up for my, a contact form on my website. I want you to take that, create a zap where they get put into my MailChimp account, and that person gets added to this workflow. So it's helping you be a little bit more of an expert on something that you know nothing about. And you can even say, I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? Tell me how to use this tool. And it's at least going to start and give you a guide, which is pretty cool. So this is kind of like, all the other plugins are magical, but like this, and this is one of the first 5 out there, like Zapier went, bam, right up the lane, which is pretty cool. Okay.
So, real quick, are all these plugins free, or do you have to pay for each?
It's part of the $20 a month. They're all included for that $20 a month. I think that's a pretty good value for $20 a month. Oh, and there's all different ones in there. Like the list goes, I could probably do a whole hour on all of the plugins and what they do. And then it would change tomorrow because 10 more got added.
Wow. Are there hundreds of these?
Last I saw to date was 95.
Okay.
Which means probably, and that was like last week I looked, so yeah, it's probably in the hundreds now.
Okay. Wow.
But they did add a search function, so if you remember you saw one and you have to go back and try and find it, you can put the name in there and it'll actually bring it up. They added that. I was like, yay! And they were like, oh my, there's a lot here. So hopefully you might feel a little overwhelmed, but that's okay. What I want you to be is inspired. Like, if I wanted to do these things, I can do them. It exists today, right? And hopefully you got some ideas of Because what I want you to walk away from this is that, oh, I want to be able to implement something for my business so I can start kind of getting my feet under me, because this is not going away, right? Remember when they said the internet was a fad? Yeah, this is kind of like all along those lines. This is not going away. I haven't been this excited about the technology industry since the internet came about, when we got AOL and then Google and then the Google black box. This is exciting me just as much. So that's why I dove in when I first saw it. I was like, this is next. This is next. All right, so let's kind of give you some concrete things that you can start doing today to figure out where you can implement one thing. Okay? And if you're an overachiever, two things. Okay, so first we're going to talk about prompt creation. Because there's a right way to prompt and then there's a wrong way to prompt. And this is going to look like stupid nonsense if you prompt the wrong way. You're going to just get garbage. And then I'm going to walk you through an exercise of helping you find use cases for your business. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it up with how do you maintain it once you actually implement it so it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg over the next 3 to 5 years or it starts to break. Because believe it or not, certain things I'm implementing now for myself and my clients have to be watched because they've already broken. Okay. Creating a prompt. Again, it's like having a conversation with a person, right? So I wouldn't walk up to a person and say, what's the temperature in Idaho right now? You'd be like, what? Why are you asking me that? You got to give it the why. The more you give it, and the better off it is. So the very first thing is context is king. What is the context? And I do have an example prompt I'm going to show you after this to bring it all together. Okay, so context. Why are you asking, what do you need? Right? I'm going on a trip next week, and I'm going to Idaho, and I'm not quite sure what shoes to pack. Do you happen to know what the temperature is? And you're like, oh, well, it's different, right? When you understand the why. Then you have to give the system or tool a role, right? Now think about it. It knows all this information, right? It knows about search engine optimization, and it knows about, the first day Google went online. So when you're asking in the context of what you're asking, are you asking them to be a search engine expert? Or are you asking them to be a historical Google expert? Or if you want to ask about, the king lineage of England, do you want them to be a historian? So you have to give them a role. What kind of expert are they? Because they're an expert in all these things. But you got to get them to go and find the right section to bring up to start the conversation with you. Persona. If anybody's done the old marketing 101, you've got to create a customer persona for your business. So who is the information for? Who are they? We're all business owners in here, so 9 times out of 10, if you're doing something that is customer centric, you need to give it your customer persona. Are you B2B? Are you B2C? What are they looking for? Who are they? What are their basic demographics? And this is the kind of cool stuff that can get put into that setting inside of ChatGPT, so you don't have to keep giving them the same information over and over again. And then give it examples. 3 to 4 are best. So if you look back to that Excel spreadsheet little video I put together for you, and it said, here's an example of what I'm looking for. Take this garbage name and then format it this way. And then there might be these little things in there. Take them out and still format it this way. 3 to 4 is good because it can see and know very quickly the similarity. It can kind of see a flow between the data. You could do more than 4 if you want to, but that's a little time consuming. But 4 is usually fine. And then you want to do your requests in steps. So if you go back to when I was talking to you about writing a blog article, and I didn't say, give it a topic and ask it to write a 2,000-word article because it's not coming out that way. It learns in steps just like we do. And at the beginning of the chat conversation all the way to the end, it knows all the information in between. Sometimes it's going to get a little confused. You got to remind it and it'll go, oh yeah, you did, you said that. So that's why you do your request in steps. Like I said with the blogs, I give it a title and a description, then ask for an outline, then write to the outline. You're gonna get a much better output when you ask it to go step by step and when you're giving it examples. Every prompt doesn't need examples, so if it's something that's a little more complicated or you want very specific things, you can kind of throw that in there. And then you can also ask for formatting in the output. I want a list, I want a table, I want items numbered, I want it in a comma delimited paragraph format. I do that all the time because then when I copy and paste it, it goes into where I'm putting it beautifully. So formatting matters, like what the output is. So that's the basics of creating a prompt. I highly recommend when you first write your first one, and if it's gonna be reusable, which they should be reusable, which I'm gonna show you how to make them reusable, create a prompt library. You don't have to get all fancy. You can just open a Google Doc, open a Word document, label it prompt library, give it the heading for each prompt, and then put it in there, because then when you go to use it, and you test it, and you tweak it, you put the tweaks back into the prompt library, so that the next time you use it, it's more optimized. And that way you're not constantly futzing with the same thing over and over and over again. Any questions about creating prompts before I show you my example?
I just literally wrote in like, write an article about Michael Jordan. I gave you a whole big thing about Michael Jordan. But then from there, you keep saying like you can tweak it, you can change things. Do you do it right from down here, or do you do it from, do you do it right from this?
You can. You absolutely can.
Will
So
it rewrite the whole thing, or will it kind of just tweak it?
if you ask it to rewrite section, so let's say one of the section was about Michael Jordan's shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to add the date of when he launched his shoe line to the Michael Jordan shoe section. It will rewrite the shoe section.
Okay.
And that's where I like having a a Google Doc up next to me, because then I'm like, okay, it gave me this, but I want to tweak it, so I take it, I pull it out, I have it rewrite a section, and I replace them. Or if you're doing it right inside of Google Doc, where you put your cursor and then you prompt it, it will put the content in there.
Okay.
In the same place. But what the prompt library is if you're starting with the native prompt, where you're like, okay, you're giving it its context, the role, the persona, and the examples, you can have all of that pre-laid out for the next time you use that prompt again. Because you may not write an article about Michael Jordan again, but what if you write an article about Tom Brady, right? You're gonna want similar things, but context has to be changed up. All right, so let's walk through this prompt example. I think this is gonna help. What this prompt is, it's to write a video script. Talked about that before as like one of the short format content. So it's a two-part prompt. So this is prompt 1 on the left, and on the right is prompt 2. So I'll read this because it's small. I want to create videos for social media that will help me grow my business. Context. Why am I asking you to write a video script? You are an expert marketing video content creator. Here's who you are at this moment in time. I want to make my bracketed channel, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute. These are the different areas of your prompt that you can tweak so that you can customize it for different topics. Michael Jordan versus Tom Brady.
You're typing all this into the GPT.
What I'm doing first is I'm typing it all into a document first, and then I'm copying and pasting it into ChatGPT to test it.
And it'll take all that information. And
Oh,
create
absolutely.
something.
Yeah, all of this. This whole thing, copy and paste, boom, spits it out.
Wow.
It is a site for bracketed target audience, another custom section. I am purpose, custom section. I offering, custom section. I am also including offering 2, in case you want more than one, right? Land cruise, sea cruise. And give me 10, so here's the ask. This is the sentence where I'm actually asking for something after all of that. Give me 10 video topics that will increase my followers and views. That's what I want out of this prompt. I didn't give it examples because it's a pretty straightforward text thing. And then here, it knows that because this word is in brackets, that you replace that channel brackets with the word YouTube, so it knows this. My target audience is small business owners, including those starting a side hustle. I was very specific about what I was going to do the video about. My purpose, teaching them how to use tools to market their business. Offering business startup advice and walkthroughs of how to use tools like MailChimp and Canva. And then I had a secondary offering that I wanted to include in the video, which is AI to make it faster and easier to do the marketing work. Copy and I paste it in, and it gives me my 10. So you come over here, and this is the one I chose. Top 10 essential tools for small business owners and side hustlers. Introduce your audience to must-have tools for managing and growing their businesses, including MailChimp, Canva, and AI-powered solutions. That is directly, I didn't change any of that text. So now I have a title. So in the same chat as this and all that output came out, right, that bar comes back with your blinking cursor, I put in the second prompt, which is write me a script outline for a video, length, custom field, from number XX on the list, because I asked for 10, so you put the number from the list in there, number 5, right, number 5 on the list. Topic specific notes is customized. So length of the video is 20 minutes in this case, but what if I want a shorts? Then it's 45 seconds. Topic specific notes. The 10 tools will be MailChimp, Canva, ChatGPT, and you pick the rest. So I'm kind of giving it a little bit of freewheeling in this 20-minute video to talk about other things aside from just MailChimp and Canva and ChatGPT, right? So I tell it specifically what I want, and then let's see what comes up. And so I hit enter, and it actually writes me a 20-minute video script with introduction and close that I can then tweak from there. And it's about 85% accurate because I did all of this. Also, you'll notice in prompt 2, I didn't have to give it context or persona or any of that because it remembered it from prompt 1.
So is there a day, can you do one on one day and one the next day and it'll still remember?
Yes, because what happens is if you've gone into ChatGPT, on the left side, unless you delete them, you have a list of all the chats that you have. I've done this months later.
Okay.
Where I've gone in like, oh man, I gotta do more for this. So I go, I find it, I open it, and then I just start the conversation again.
So it's not a save, it just automatically remembers.
No, it's a save. Because each individual chat is a conversation. If you were to go and pick up a conversation where you left off, you go back into that chat and you just literally do it. But to that point too, if you're gonna go in an entirely different direction, so let's say I put all this in, I got it, and I'm like, great, now I wanna do it for a completely different subject. I wanna talk about shoes. Open a whole new chat window and start from scratch. Because it's gonna muddy the waters if you give it, like in my instance, if I give it a different company, or if I give it a totally different thing. Like if in one I was talking about branding, and in the next one I'm talking about videos, no, because you're having to change everything up. So new topic, new task, start fresh with a new chat. But let's say the video script came up and you were like, I would like this second part. You know, go in and it's going to give you timestamps because you're asking for a video script. You know, at 45 seconds, rewrite this section. I don't like the way that reads, or I don't like the way it sounds. And it'll rewrite that section. It'll probably give me the whole thing over again with that new section, and it'll rewrite the whole thing. So you can copy and paste it out into 11 Labs if you choose to, or into a document that you can read and voice over yourself. So hopefully that helped kind of solidify all the things I was talking about with how to write a good prompt. That's where you're going to want to start. Become a good prompt writer. They call it prompt engineering. There's a ton of free information out there about doing it right. But if all you want to do is like figure out how to use ChatGPT well, learn how to write good prompts.
Do kids ever have to write essays and papers anymore in college? Or will this just do it for them?
So there's this whole thing going on out there, right? Kind of like when Wikipedia Wikipedia first came on and we weren't allowed to use it to cite references in college and post-grad, and now you can, I was like, dang it, why do they get to use it and not me?
Will this write bibliographies for them?
Absolutely. And it's gonna pull your reference documents too. So let's say you wrote, well, give me a reference list to support everything that I just wrote. It's gonna go and it'll probably give you in the right citation format too, as long as you tell it exactly what the citation format is
A lot
gonna
of
be.
smart kids coming out of college that all have it.
They're all using it now. Like teachers in high school, look at them, just, you wanna trigger them, go, oh, are you kids using ChatGPT? And they'll go, oh. You know, some of them embraced it, meaning they've taught them how to use it appropriately, and others are like, no, I'm putting all your stuff through a system to see if it was written by a chatbot. None of those work, by the way.
Right.
They show false positives, false negatives, positives, negatives, all over the place. Those detectors can't detect that it's been written, because especially if you follow my prompting, where you're kind of going and intervening along the way, it's not just spitting one thing out, it's collecting and pulling from different places. And it's not copying and pasting content, it's actually original thought from what it knows and what you're asking.
Truly a quantum leap.
Yeah. See? It's not copying and pasting.
So if you went in and you were a high schooler and you said you had to write a report on Marco Polo, and somebody goes in and puts, I need a report on Marco Polo, so many words, would everybody get the same thing?
That's
No.
all
But
different.
that
But
probably
if you-
would get an F, because no teacher is asking you for just a report on Marco Polo. They want you to come up with an insightful thing to talk about with Marco Polo. So if you come up with you can ask it to help you come up with ideas on how to write about Marco Polo. And then you can say, okay, now write me the outline for this, and now write me the article, and then, oh, add this in, and then get me my citations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just.
They can also do it for research, like,
Now doing verbal questioning about the reports.
yes.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that they read it and everything, so that if they do get quizzed, they know what's on the page. But yeah, it's happening today, and there's two camps, right? There's ones that are like, yay, let's use it, and others are like, no, you can't, and we're gonna try to stop you, and it's like, good luck with that.
Yep.
And they're teenagers, so, you know, that
Being loose, you calculator.
All right,
Yeah.
time to take out your pencils and pens and do some thinking. So I got a little exercise here for you. We'll try to get it done in the next 5 or 10 minutes. But like, where do you use this in your business? Where do you start? Like, you might already have 15 ideas in your head right now, but where do you start? So, first part of the exercise, I want you to list out 5 problems or frustrations you have today in your business. Don't try to solve them, just list them out. Like, what's kind of making your head twitch? What's costing you a lot of money? What's costing you a lot of time? What's keeping you up at night? What's keeping you from getting more clients? That's good. What's keeping you as a slave to your business, right? All my coaches love those types of questions, right? And now you might actually be able to do something.
Wonder if it can help us keep up with inflation.
There are financial plugins out there. And then, so one of the plugins is with a tool called Wolfram Alpha, which means you can query its data and its charts and that kind of thing. And so if you're in that analytical world, the answer is yes. Me, no. Like, that's the thing with using these tools. You do have to have a certain knowledge level in order to use it to get what you're looking for. Because you can't simply put in there like, you can ask it, teach me about inflation and how can I track it, how can I do it, and then it'll kind of guide you. But it's not going to be like, if you're totally uneducated on the subject, it's not going to make you, it's not going to work for you. You got to have some basic knowledge level. Okay. So it looks like everybody's good here. So here's what I want you to do with each of those. Ask yourself these 3 questions, right? Can I train an intern no heart palpitations, to do the task for me at a high quality level, if I took the time to do it? Yes or no? Is this task one that I perform regularly with enough consistency where it's worth automating? You saw the prompt I created, right? It's gotta be worth automating. It's gotta be worth implementing a prompt and an AI and training everybody on it. So if you only do it twice a year and it's not business critical, maybe the answer is no. But if it's twice a year and it's one of the most important things to help you keep your business running, then the answer could be yes. And then, is it a text-heavy process, right? So I think if you answered yes to one of these, or even a maybe, circle it. Because AI and or AI automation can probably help streamline that process for you. And then on that list, which one's most important to you? And if you've circled it, that's where you start. So anybody want to share one? I love hearing these. One of their problems that they circle.
I can train. I've never really been able to train someone and keep them because they have to be motivated to be a remodel person. And
Modeling.
so I was just, how do you train someone at a high level? And I want to do like videos and all that kind of stuff. But I got so many questions for this AI. It's amazing that it's around now for this. I think it'll help get me on track,
Absolutely. So with that one, you could start out with literally just either dictating or writing down what you do. So think of this is how I think of it for my business, because I've automated so much in my business and or handed it off to an assistant. Someone that doesn't have to have 25 years of marketing experience to execute something. That's a little hard to find. Start by writing down what you do or dictating it out, right, into a recording. Right. And then you can put that in and at least create the workflow, because the workflow is going to give you clarity. And you're like, oh, this step right here, that's going to trip someone up. Maybe I create a quick video about that. All right, let me do it right now. Right. Because then on the workflow, you can actually link to those videos so that if the person's looking at it, they can go, oh, there's a video icon here. Click, and then it's in context.
Wow.
So
crazy.
That's what's possible. And then to create that video, you don't even have to be standing there chatting. Maybe it's just you with some examples. You can use that voiceover tool to create the video script on your behalf, meaning you say you give it that section of your writing and say, give me a video script about this stuff. And then you can just literally read the video script and or put, with remodeling, sometimes you want to show them something. So you might do a little B-roll clip of what that looks like, and then your voiceover sits on top of that. It takes that hard thinking of like, how am I going to create this video? What am I going to say out of the equation? Right. Because it writes it for you. Yeah, that was a good one.
Fascinating.
Anybody else want to share? Don't have to.
Well, I'll say, I have just really been stuck with social media content. My personality is I have to know the start and the stop and how it works in the middle, and now I'll have it.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm very excited. And I mean, that's just been the whole thing is, what do I have ideas, but how do I convey them? And now I will pass.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I've been using it, but I haven't given the detailed prompts. So now I've been getting good stuff. So
now you're getting great stuff.
Now.
So remember, start with your topics. What are the things you wanted to create video for, right? Give me 5 or 10 video topics. Great. Let's start with number 1. Give it the more context. Create me a script that I can read. And then great. That's great. Now do it for all the rest of them. And then it'll write, and literally it's going to take it 2 minutes at most. It always seems faster than that, but let's give it 2 minutes. And then they're all there, and then you just chunk through them whenever you're ready, because then the hard part for you is over. And it'll even create an intro and an outro where it's like, thanks so much for watching my video. Hit like and subscribe. Like, I forget to say that all the time when I'm making a video. Dang it, you're supposed to like and subscribe here. And then there's tools where it'll plug the like and subscribe icons right in for you when you're actually processing the video. I don't know if Canva has that yet, but I do know that, what's the tool that I use? Oh, it left me, but they've got that stuff in there. All right, cool. Any questions about this? Anybody struggle? with this. Hopefully we've all walked away with one thing we can play around with and figure out how to use it with our business. Yes? Good. That was my goal. Took me an hour and a half to get there, but we got it. Oh, I'm not done yet. Last thing I'm going to talk to you about. So when you implement this prompt library for your social media, or you create that workflow for the training, prompt library especially, this stuff needs care and feeding. So step one, document from the beginning, workflows and prompt libraries. Prompt library, prompt library, prompt library. I want you to hear that tonight when you go to bed. If you, especially, you can start in ChatGPT and you're like, oh, this was amazing. Then go back and copy and paste your inputs into a prompt library, clean it up, right? Put those little bracket things in there so you can reuse it. You'll thank your future self will thank you. That way it's reusable. Then it's copy and paste, rinse, repeat. And workflows are great because sometimes when you're implementing all automations, you do it and 6 months later you come back and you're like, where did that trigger? Dang it. And so in the workflows, you actually add the triggers to it. Like this triggers this to go out so that you remember what you did in case it needs to be updated or changed. Which comes to my second point. Some of these tools cost money. Those costs change over time, or what they're offering changes over time. So there is licensing fees and costs associated to them. And sometimes they'll increase their licensing fee, but they'll give you a whole boatload of new features, which then you've got to weigh the pros and cons, or sometimes a brand new tool hits the market that does it better. I actually had a client, we're doing that today. He had this chat tool he's been using for 4 years, and we're actually sunsetting it because his CRM system finally caught up and is doing exactly the same thing that the other tool is doing. He's saving himself $750 a month just by us going in and analyzing that. So always go, look, see what your tools are doing for you. Are they doing enough? If not, is there something new in the marketplace? And then keeping all your systems up to date with the latest version. One, it keeps you safe, right? The reason they update software mainly is because bugs and people will try to get in there and hack things. Your website's number one there, but it happens to these smaller systems too. Two, they give you new features. Use the new features if you need the new features and implement them. Also, it might break if you don't upgrade to the latest and greatest, like QuickBooks, right? Because all the accountants love desktop QuickBooks. So you gotta upgrade the software. And if it's cloud-based, then no worries, right? Then it's kind of updated. But to that point, you need to test prompts and systems on a fairly regular basis. Quarterly, at least once a year, because what happens is when they implement these new features or they change things, the way you were doing things in the past can break or not be anywhere near as efficient when they first started. When you dive into this, you'll hear terms like prompt drift. And what that is you write a prompt today, it works beautifully. And then you're using it, and then 6 months later, it's not working so well anymore. The models change, they update, right? Just because they haven't added the 2023 data doesn't mean they've changed the way that they're giving you the information from the learning model. And they're constantly trying to tweak and change that. So if you have one, if something's not working, go back, try something different, and then update your prompt to avoid that, what's called prompt drift. Meaning it's not working as efficiently as when you first wrote it. Same thing with automations. You start with Zapier. Systems may change a field name, and then all of a sudden your Zap stops working because the field name that it triggered off of has been changed. It's no longer business, it's now business one, and that can break the whole thing. Zapier's really good. It understands that, so it shows a history of things, and it will tell you if something didn't run and where it stopped working. So I would still check and test all of those periodically, but at the very least, check your history and see what broke and why. And then update it when you start implementing that so that this keeps working for you. Okay, so that actually is it. I just have one more slide for you. I think we have about 5 minutes for questions now. Just general questions, anything, I love those like, what is this doing, what is that doing? But if you want to stay in touch, if you've got questions later, you can sign up for the newsletter. I do have a LinkedIn and a YouTube account. I'm going to be starting to post more videos about stuff. I haven't quite worked it out. Meeting with my social media manager on Thursday, and we're putting together a plan of all the stuff I'm going to start putting out.